Hello there. It's been a while, but we're back. Did you listen to the new EP I had with Mama Told You? It's called It's Okay to Cry. There's some vinyls left. If you want to check that out, that'd be super cool. So go ahead and give that a little peruse. Link in the description. Also, had a release with Capiak. It was a remix for one of their tracks, Blood Moon Outro. Also in the description. Give that a check. Now, with that said, let's get into this breakdown right after I mention this idea. Have you ever wanted private lessons on Zoom? Are you not sure how Ableton works? Do you need help mixing? Do you need help with production, arrangement? I have a loop, but I can't make it into a song. Maybe that's why you're watching these videos. You can get private lessons with me. You can get feedback from me. And yeah, it's a good time. So go ahead and check that out on the Patreon in the description. Let's go ahead and go to the track now. The track's going to immediately start with a sort of drum loop thing that's fading in, as well as a little smattering of this vocal sample. And let's just listen for that. Okay, so we sort of have like a two-part intro in a way. By that I mean we have this initial part that starts with the drum loop, the vocal sample, and the bell. And I might as well say the vocal sample has more than just a vocal. It also sounds like there's still some drums in there, and there's like a bass line in there, or some small bass element, do that sort of thing. And so I say this is a two-part intro because essentially you kind of have this first section where as that vocal sample starts playing more and more, you get the kick that's increasingly getting louder, and then you go into like part two of the intro, which is this gives you this really deep bass line. I'm wondering if it's like a Moog perhaps, just like a really fat bass that's slowly opening up. That's probably just a filter opening up if I had to guess on the bass line. And then these pads are increasing in volume. So I said that because like this feels like an intro here. Because we have this slowly increasing amount of tension coming in. But so does this here as well. So that's why I call this a two-part intro, because it's like you have this tension building, then a quick drop. Then you have like a new sort of intro coming in, which is kind of cool. That might be something to think about with future productions, to maybe try and have like a two-staged intro. Another thing I like about this is how right as this drum loop's starting here, something about that chord and then the drum loop to continue playing briefly, I feel like this gives you like a bit of a pause, like emotionally almost. Like it makes me go, huh, what's happening? Like something just about to start. That's, yeah. And then the way how I made this blue and then yellow, because you have this at low volume and it immediately hikes back up. I don't know. This whole intro just, it seems to have a feel of, or I guess part one of the intro, it's moving quickly. And it's kind of a little messy, sort of, in a way, which I like. But, okay, so then we're going to get that kick that's increasing here. And then the introduction of the pads and the bass line, or another like bass element rather. The reason why I made this pink is because it sounds like at the end the pads are getting phased or some sort of effects going on at the end. Alright, so now when like the main groove comes in, we're just having our kick. We have a nice bass line. Boop 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 boop. And that's gonna be an 8-bar loop here. So it's pretty simple. This is now, like I said, we have our lead, which I would consider to be these chords, and then the bass line grooving underneath it. We're gonna do that for 8 bars. Then to keep it interesting, we're gonna add our offbeat stuff. Now it's kind of neat how it's not just a perfect offbeat like 1 and 2 and. You have a little shuffle at the beginning with these 2 hats, and then a little more shuffling at the end. But I want to point out how the rhythm of the offbeat, and I'll tell you why I put 2 layers in a second, but you notice the drums stop here, which is kind of when the bass line stops for a second. So this is cool. It just kind of gives a nice rhythm to the track where you have movement, 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 then a little pause, then back to movement. So again, you're going to hear the little pause right around here. And just listen for that. It's kind of nice. Okay, cool. Now the reason why I put an offbeat and white noise is because if I had to guess, it sounds like we have 2 things doing the same rhythm. It might be a little bit more apparent later, but I just think that there's some sort of hat here and then some sort of like white noise percussion underneath it. Let me show you what white noise percussion could look like real quick. And again, if you're wondering what I'm talking, like what the hell is he talking about, don't worry, a little bit later it might be a little more apparent. But so I have a synthesizer here called Operator. It's pushing out white noise right now, and basically using white noise you can create drums. So for example, if we loop this, and now we can affect the decay, the attack. And so sometimes people will use that as like a percussive element, and I think he's doing this here, and we'll go into why that is in a moment. Okay, so then we had, where was that? I forgot to put it in there. Okay, so basically at this point, like I said, we entered our groove, then we added some extra percussion, and now we have a bit of a pause at the end of this second 8-bar cycle with the offbeats. And do you hear all this noise coming in? You're going to hear this hissing sound right when this is here. So this is part of where I think I started thinking about white noise. And in case you can't tell what I'm talking about here, you're going to hear the noise. Hear all that noise? So that could just be from the vocal sample here. But it also could be from... I mean, honestly, actually, in retrospect, if I had to guess, it probably is from that vocal sample, but it could also be from opening up this hat. And there's more reason for me to think that this hat is made out of white noise, which I'll get to later. Again, But what you could do here is, remember how earlier I had the synth playing the little white noise notes? You could then make a really big white noise note, so it's just pushing out noise. Okay, then we're just going to keep grooving. On the kick pattern should be a little bit different. Let me get that up here. It seems that I think it's every other bar. There's kind of like, it might be a tom, but it sounds like there's like a low kick that comes in here. Okay, cool. Now, this is interesting. So let's just recap what's happened so far. So we kind of had part 1 intro, part 2 intro. Well, we got into the groove. Groove starts occurring. We're focused on the chord progression. Then we add some offbeat to that chord progression. Repeat that twice. Add a little bit of a hesitation with this vocal sample. Then we get back into doing that groove one more time. And now you're probably wondering, okay, it might be a good idea to switch it up because we've been doing this same thing for so long. So you're in luck, because now we are going to drop out that chord progression, bring in, I think the bass stays the same. Let's hear. Okay, actually, if I had to guess, you could maybe duplicate the bass and just, because I think that low end of the bass is still there, but now you're getting like a, it sounds like maybe like a saw wave, something on top repeating the bass, so you're getting like some, the bass melody is getting more presence. Listen. Just for the sake of this video, I'm going to keep it just like this. I'm going to make this pink. And here you're getting a different rhythm. You can hear this new like okay, now listen to how, so here I have the shakers, then listen to hear how it just opens up and it sounds like a so to me this really sounds like white noise, like I showed you earlier, and that's why I'm wondering, because then once I heard this, I went back and listened here, and I feel like after listening to this part, then when I went back to listen to this offbeat, I noticed that you have like that kind of hard sounding offbeat, but then if you listen, you'll hear some high end, very just like noisy high end hitting at the same time, which makes me wonder, I maybe could have even done this. Maybe it's like the same track or something and then just a different rhythm, but for the sake of this video, I'm going to make it a different track. And notice we're still kind of having that interesting rhythm where we're having little pauses here. Here as well. Cool. Now, a really nice thing about this track that I realized with this breakdown is that you're not really getting parts repeating. And a lot of the tracks we've done will have an established A section, then we might have an established B section, then we'll switch back to the A, then we'll switch back to the B, then we'll switch back to the A, etc., etc. This track doesn't really do that. I mean, it sort of does it, I think, once maybe, but well, there's just quite a lot of variety here, and I think, if I had to guess, this is part of what makes, in my opinion, this track so epic, is because it seems like you're just continually changing, but in like a more dramatic way than you might in other tracks. And to me, I think this just might, I don't know, give this track more of like a journey sort of feeling. Plus each part's just really good. But okay, so then we're gonna keep moving here. Okay, cool. So now we're back to the regular bass, but now we have this really nice like bell sort of chord progression that's leading us. Then we have that little, I feel like that sounds like a Paul Kalkbrenner thing, the tone on this synth. You just have some little synth line leading us in. Yeah. Okay, now you have chords creeping in as well. These kind of ghostly chords. You'll hear they're not really happening here. That's why I put creeping in. It does sound like there's still a bit of the drum sample from the beginning in here too. I didn't notice that. It might just be like right here for a moment. Yeah, I think so. Sorry, here we go. Yeah. Okay, real quick. Let's just talk about what happened here. So again, we had this little part here where the bass line got some high frequencies. Yeah. Then we entered a new groove that's kind of focusing on this bell chord progression. And it looks like this is going to be another 8-bar cycle. We have pads slowly rising in. We've got then this jiggly thing. I put lower pads too because at least when I'm listening to this song, you can hear like the highs definitely. But I feel like maybe there's also some body to the chords lower. For example, if you listen to like the body of the chords here, I don't really hear that over here. It feels pretty empty. That's why I put these as also creeping in. But okay, so essentially you start a new groove with the bell being the focus. That's why I'm calling it a new groove, because this is just like a really nice new lead. You're creeping in with the pads, then you start creeping in with this jiggly sound, and then you're going to drop out your drums for a moment, and then you're going to have the vocals come in, which is pretty special because you have Tom York's vocals. And it looks like this creepy, jiggly thing is just getting delayed more and more. Okay. Sorry, it feels like rude to interrupt during that breakdown, but I want to talk a little bit about what's going on here. So, again, this reminds me a little. This is a little more like a breakdown of like the Knights or Pyramids or um, one of those tracks where we're really just kind of going off the deep end in a way, which is cool, but it can make it a little trickier to explain, or at least to like just give my impressions of it. But like I said, this track's continually changing, right? So it makes sense how, well, I'm not going to say it makes sense, but let me just describe what I see is going on. So like I said, we had this new groove with the bell melody. Pads are rising. We're grooving. We're getting interested. Then we have the drums drop out. We bring in those vocals. Very interesting. Now we have Tom York's vocals. It sounds amazing. And we start grooving again. But now when we groove again, our bass line's different. We don't have that doop boop 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 doop 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 doop. Like I said, so many elements of this track are continually changing. So now I feel like it sounds like maybe there's just like a big sub here, or maybe they're just opening up the decay of the kick on the first hit. Boom, ba-dum, boom, boom, boom. So, well, yeah, whatever exactly is going on here, we do have like a different situation in our sub now, different rhythm down there. So that's important to note, I'd say. And because it's interesting because some of the elements are the same. Like you still have that bell melody, or the bell chord progression, but now your bass line changed, and you have Tom York vocals in. So a lot, like, yeah, you're just getting a lot of things that change the feel of this track, but then also some things that stay the same. Quite interesting, I'd say. And so basically, as you start cruising a bit with the vocals and the bell melody, I marked this part as orange because, in my opinion, until this point, the tone of the track has been pretty like somber, kind of dark, kind of sad or something. And once the orange comes in, I think it's probably through a change of the chord, but the whole vibe is changing, in my opinion. Like, I feel like once this orange hits, for me, I feel like a sense of hope, which I think is cool because now in this track, you're getting some emotional diversity, I suppose. And I think that's just interesting. It's like how sometimes I feel like if I watch a really good movie, or there's been here's another way I'll say it. I've seen at least some movies that, I'm thinking of one in particular, where it'll have one tone the whole time. Like, oh, this is sad. I'm actually thinking of a TV show. And I don't know, it can be okay, it can be good, I guess, but I think it's interesting sometimes when you like watch a show or a movie or something where it's not only making you sad, it's also making you happy, it's making you laugh, it's making you curious. It's just giving you different emotional sensations. That's not to say that you need to have like multiple types of emotional vibes from a piece of art to have it be like super great. But I don't know. In the context of this piece, I think that having this change in vibe here, I don't know, just it really just adds something nice to this track. So that could be something cool to consider if you're making a track with a certain mood and you want to, switch it up a bit. Maybe think about that. That could be an idea. So let's listen for that again. Listen for how the vibe changes when we get to orange. Okay. I feel like this second part isn't as hopeful. It's really here. Really nice. So now we're going to start diving into the delayed world, which, again, I think it's right before the beat switch in Nights. You might get something kind of similar to this. But yeah, so you're gonna have the vocals get super delayed here, and now this jiggly thing is delaying like crazy too. You have that kind of increasing kick happening that was happening at the intro. Which is nice to help build some tension. I just noticed too, there's like a huge bass tail here. That might just be a low subnote played on the synth or something, but it just really rings out. I don't know, it's kind of nice as you're starting to enter this more epic stage of the game. And you're going to have a synth come in that's really working well with the vocals. I feel like this synth is neat because to me it's really calling back to these vocals. It's kind of talking to them, and I feel like the vocals are pretty like eerie, angsty, and the synth is like this as well. It's kind of like, to me it sounds kind of like crying or something. And notice how the melodies are kind of similar. So like with the vocal you get, and here you have the synth going, super cool. So see, they're kind of talking to each other. They're having like a back and forth. It's really good. So yeah, basically at this point in the track, I feel like it's the vocals and synths that are this vocal and synth are really carrying us through. And this has got to be one of the coolest times you put the 2 and the 4 back in that I've ever heard. I think that at least I can think off the top of my head. There's something about it. Once this comes in, I'm just like, yeah, I like that. Maybe it's just because we're getting so dramatic, we're getting so emotional, and you're almost gonna start crying, and then the 2 and the 4 comes back, and it's just like, you know what? This shit, we're just gonna keep going though. We're still in the club, don't forget. I don't know. It's dope. It's great. That's my insightful commentary there. Great, right? So this is super epic. I want to just make a comment here because the reason why this track came back into my mind, I think, was because I made the playlist, which I hopefully mentioned at the beginning of this video, which is I was kind of going through some of my favorite tracks over the years, which tend to be these kind of more like epic tracks. And, oh my God, why did I just bring this up? Oh, yeah. And again, arrangement's not everything. But like, how do I put this? Here's what I want to say. When I was listening to some other tracks, I was listening to Siamese Dream recently, the Smashing Pumpkins album, and I think it's just wild. For many reasons, I really have enjoyed that album, but sonically, like the mix is pretty amazing. It's super wide. It sounds so good, and yeah, I think it's great. And sometimes when it comes to sound design, I've sometimes discounted that. Or at least I don't talk about it the way I feel like a lot of other YouTubers do. I do think it's important. But I guess what I want to say about this song, I'm just rambling a bit right now, is that it's not the cleanest, it's not the widest, it's not the most full from a mix perspective. Maybe the track would be more enjoyable if it was. I'm not sure. But I do know that as it is now, it's just fucking sweet. And like, I think a big part of that is because the arrangement's just so dope. The sounds that are used are great. But like, listen to this bass thing. Like when you have this big bass thing come in with the kick, just listen. Like it sounds kind of wonky. I don't care. But like, I don't know. It almost sounds like it's clashing. Like it's almost like too much bass or something, but I don't know. I think it's I guess what I'm saying is, in my opinion, this is a good reminder that like just make your track sound cool. That's really all that matters. What makes it sound cool? Having it sound cool makes it sound cool. There you go. I don't know. Don't listen to me. Let's keep going. Super good. All right. There's a lot of things I want to touch on here. Okay, back to the beginning when I said how I thought there was white noise underneath the offbeats. Listen at the end. You can hear the white noise opening up. Especially here, you can hear it just like slurping all over the place. Okay, another thing. I do think, I am pretty confident now that there was a lower pad layer. Listen here. Do-do-do. So earlier when I said I thought it was creeping in here, I think that's accurate. Even though you have the higher part, yeah, you think you still have that lower part. Because now we're, that's just probably what happened. Now, okay, in a bigger sense, let's just cover what happened in this last chunk, going into that last chunk, and then we're gonna do like a whole macro thing. So where are we at here? Oh yeah, so we're at the point where I was saying, okay, you have a back and forth synth the vocals, and then eventually you're kind of gearing back up for the final groove. You're getting lots of risers and stuff, and now you're doing a groove with those chords that we had in the beginning being kind of the main focus here. And you might be remembering, hey Alex, didn't you say that this song doesn't really repeat parts that often? And yeah, I did. But even though we have the chords here, the bass line's different. Now we have a bass line that's basically just following the root note of the I guess of like these chords here, I'm guessing off the top of my head. And then you have this new melody, this kind of like twirly melody. And now I know you might be saying, but yeah, but Alex, I've watched other videos and there will sometimes be variations on a loop, and you don't make a big deal about saying that, oh, the track's completely changed now. You kind of make it sound like it's just a modulation. And if you were to say that, I guess I would say this. I feel like because of everything in between that you're getting from this groove here versus this groove, then you get to something like this. Like, yeah, it is similar, of course, but I just feel like we had such a long space in between the sections. Like, it's been about 3.5 minutes, and like the bass line's different. Like over here we're a little more, I don't know, it just seems more you know what, maybe I shouldn't even try and justify this. Maybe I should just say, you know what, this is just a modulation of this part. But I guess with everything in between, and like, yeah, the bass line still is different. You now have this new thing up top, then you're gonna get this low synth and the crying synth. I guess it still sounds pretty different to me, at least way more dramatic. Whatever. The point is, you're getting to this last section. We're focused on the chords again, and now you're going to do 8 bars with those chords and the twirly thing. And then you're going to switch to the low synth and the cry synth, so it's going to be like a call and response with this and this. Then you're going to go back to the twirly synth. Then you're essentially going to fade it out. And that's the track. Now, again, I really like this track. It's given me some ideas. I think maybe, who knows, maybe next time I make a track, I will keep some of what I've learned here in mind. For example, I love this like double intro. Then I love the fact that you have, again, I know this is kind of like if we call this an A section, this is kind of like another A section, but to me, just the amount of variety you get on the way is really special. And it might just make me think of structure a little bit differently next time I work. Maybe instead of going, okay, cool, I got my A section. Okay, cool, I got my B section. Maybe I'll be a little bit more motivated to go, okay, cool, I got an A section, I got a B section, let's go to a C section, let's go to a D section, let's go to an E section, then maybe I'll go back to the A section. for example. Something like that. I don't know. It's a great track, though. And yeah, if you want the project file, let me know. And hopefully you learned something from this. Comment below if you feel like it. Tell a friend. Check out my last EP on Mama Told Ya and my my remix for Capiac. That'd be cool. And yeah, I hope y'all have a good day. Adios.